Great. So to preface this, I actually launched a successful business about 2 years out of Harvard, but based on technology that I had helped develop while I was in undergrad.
Very successful. In fact, just got a shout out from Bill Gates the other day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Or his communications person, but I'll take it. At any rate, so the technology we developed was part of a class in the engineering department, actually, that was geared toward interdisciplinary study. So the engineers would learn how to better communicate with liberal artists like myself, and the artists would learn to kind of speak engineering and be able to kind of engage in those higher level discussions without thoroughly understanding the kind of technological fundamentals, being able to kind of progress in a theoretical sense. So in that class, it was all group-based work, and we were assigned a group, and I think this is a critical point because I was assigned a group of 3, and it was an okay dynamic. There was one person who I didn't really think I could work with particularly well, just because she was very textbook-oriented, and but when it came to kind of creative generation, it was trickier. And there was another girl who was kind of academically focused, but because she was writing a thesis, and so it was hard to kind of tear her away from that. Anyway, so we had this group, and we're thinking of ideas, and then I had another kind of friend, sort of loosely speaking, it was a friend of a friend who was in a group that she didn't like, and I said, why don't you come move to my group? Since we had kind of talked briefly, we got along, and that worked out well. And that girl that joined our group actually is my current business partner. So she was not part of this assigned group. She was someone that had been roped in because of her interest in kind of the way that we were moving, because we were focused on kind of a development, sustainable, impact-focused widget. We didn't know what it would be yet, but that was what we were interested in, and so having that common interest was helpful. So I guess fast forwarding the tape, my current business partner and I think the reason that our relationship works is because we have very complementary skill sets, and that arises not only for our interests but also our personalities. She is much more kind of in your face than I am, and I'm pretty in your face, but she's more than I am. She is very comfortable presenting, whereas I'm much more comfortable in the kind of the behind the scenes type role, and so we have that kind of yin and yang, and it works well. With the other 2 girls, there was a kind of diminishing of interest in what we were trying to do with our product, and they ended up, when we wanted to take off and leave our full-time jobs and see if we could take it in a commercial direction, they just weren't ready to make that same commitment. And I think that was like the natural inflection point of, okay, going from a group project to an executable company. And I think one of the tensions that arose after that, because the girls kind of came back and said, we didn't realize it was going to be successful, can we get back in? And our answer was kind of, no, because you weren't there at the time when it was needed the most, and there was the biggest risk, and you chose to forego that, and they made a choice that reflected that their priorities were elsewhere. So launching a venture with a partner from Harvard, I think, was natural and also advantageous. One, because we had a common background, we had something we could fall back on as this affinity, but 2, that they're your intellectual equal. Regardless of what they specialize in, they do it really, really well. And I think one of the disadvantages is that Harvard strives to produce leaders, and so everyone wants to lead, and everyone thinks they're most qualified to lead. And so getting to a place where you're very comfortable either kind of taking turns being the leader and taking the back seat, or some sort of weird power sharing type of dynamic, which is what my business partner and I do. But there were trade-offs. She's the CEO and I'm the CSO, which is the Chief Social Officer. So that was because I'm much more focused on the social impact aspect of what we do, and that's the most important to me. And also because I know that the title doesn't matter as much as what we actually do.